Hello, today for review I've got really interesting in-ear monitors made by company Alpha&Delta. Model name is KS3. It would be better if I had reviewed these IEMs a few weeks ago, because they are now on the Indiegogo and actually time of this crowdfunding campaign is running out. I am not sure will I manage to release this review before the end of campaign, but I really try to do that. Anyway, unfortunately post here is pretty slow and there were too many spring holidays when post didn't work, so I'm a bit late. But anyway, this in-ear monitor should be also available after the crowdfunding in the regular sales, so I will do this review. If I will be in time, I will put a link to the crowdfunding campaign. If I won't, then it would be some link to the shop. So Alpha&Delta is a house brand of company Lend Me Your Ears, who is pretty familiar for selling portable audio from many years. Actually, their retail store in Singapore was launched in 2015, and the same year they've launched their own brand Alpha&Delta, and they released few really interesting products. I reviewed their D6, probably one of the most detailed dynamic driver in-ear monitors. Also D3, really nice basic in-ear monitors. They also make nice earphones cable, and in the KS3 they've decided to combine all together, making something in between of all that models. So now let's have a closer look. Package is pretty minimalistic. It's black cardboard with gold embossing and a small window showing in-ear monitors themselves. As you can see, attention to details is great, because they even put a protective film to protect this screen from being scratched, so you can enjoy your in-ear monitors in their purest form. On the back side there are technical specifications, so 6mm micro driver. Actually Alpha&Delta using this micro dynamic drivers, it's pretty unusual, and they have good expertise with this small dynamics. Impedance is 16 ohm, rating power 1 milliwatt, frequency response is from 10 Hz up to 40 kHz traditional, and sensitivity is 105 decibels, so it's a bit on the less sensitive side, but not too much to be hard to drive, so it would be okay even with not really powerful sources, but not too noise peaky. I like that, because you know it's really hard to deal with this ultra sensitive low impedance in-ear monitors. Actually, to get to the internal part you just need to take the lid off. It's really hard because it's fitting really nicely. Okay, it's moving and moving. Okay, here it is. So inside you will have this tiny cute, well, once again let's just shake it. So inside we'll have in-ear monitors themselves and this small cute pelican-like box. So I'm not sure did I mention the price, but during the crowdfunding price is only $100, and for $100 I really like the presentation and accessory set. So in this cute box you will have set of foam tips, 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs with different sizes and shapes, and 2 set of silicone single flange tips. You probably they are familiar to everyone who is following the Chinese in-ear monitors market. Gray and white ones pretty similar, but gray ones have a bit bigger bore, and also you will have a nice good cable. So as you can see, accessory set is definitely really nice. You will have storage, you will have good set of tips, nice cable, and in-ear monitor themselves. In terms of design, earphones are really nice too. They're using 3D printing technology as far as I remember. They're made of nice plastic. There are two versions available, blue one and fancier black with gold glitter inside. But I decided to go for probably more strict version. It's typical custom-like shape, but at the same time KS3 are much smaller than regular in-ear monitors because there is not much need in creating them big, because inside they only need to put this micro driver, so no need in spending a lot of space inside. And actually that gives them nice wearing comfort. They're fitting really good into any ears and actually really sleek look. I think they are pretty cute and very comfortable. There is metal spouts with normal length, so they fitting pretty deeply into ears, providing sound isolation on the average level, so it will be enough for noisy street or for public transport. And they are really comfortable because wearing them even for the long period of time won't be an issue for the listener. There is protective grill and there is a lip for tips holding, so everything is present. Here used absolutely regular 2-pin connector. It's not recessed, it's not some unusual connector, just absolutely plain standard 2-pin connector, so you can use virtually any cable with them. But Alpha&Delta decided to put in stock a really good cable. I already reviewed their wires for the in-ear monitors, and this one is probably the same. It's nice, really soft silver-plated copper, if I remember right, once again. Of course it has 2-pin connectors, and there is no ear hooks, no memory wire, so you need to pay attention. There is a small key showing you the correct polarity, so you need to use, so it's a right ear, it's red marking, and here is right earpiece. Just see that those keys should be oriented equally on both sides to get the proper polarity. Here it is on this in-ear monitors, and here it goes. Nice, pretty tight connectors, they're fitting really good, and cable itself is also nice. It's really soft, has zero microphonic effect, not getting hard when it's cold, and it looks attractive. It's also really important, you know. I think it's earphones that you can buy only because of cable, but of course IEMs themselves are also nice. It goes to the splitter. There is no chin slider, but I don't see much reason in having chin slider here because cable is really soft. And after the splitter it goes braided, really nice. Also braiding, it goes way down to the angle jack. There is even a spring protecting it from the working as a strain relief, so also nice jack. So to summarize this part, in terms of design, in terms of build quality, in terms of comfort, also really good model. As usual, before speaking about the sound, few preliminary conditions. First of all, they require about 10 hours of burn-in. Driver is small, but it still requires burn-in because during first 10 hours sound settled a little bit. Also, they need proper tips finding. They need to isolate your ear channel really properly because it's, you know, slight step into some side and you will lose low frequencies, and lows here are pretty nice. And third, actually important thing, as I've said before, just be sure about the correct polarity, because you need to orient these keys on the connectors in the same way, otherwise you will have really distorted sound like I did during the first audition. But there are a lot of polarity tests on the YouTube and over the internet, so it's not an issue, I think. In terms of sound, actually two previous models from Alpha and Delta that I've tested were kind of polar options. D3 was a basic headphones for those who like a lot of low frequencies, and D6 was really natural, a bit on brighter side for those who like the maximum resolution and probably neutrality. Actually, D6 is one of the most, I said it before, but it's one of the most detailed dynamic drivers at all, actually, in all price ranges. So it's simply one of the most detailed in-ear monitors that I've tested for the dynamic drivers. And for the KS3, Alpha and Delta decided to make something in between. So they have normal detalization, but at the same time they're not so accented on the micro details. They are not as bright. They are a bit shifted towards the warm and bass representation, giving overall really enjoyable and musical sounding. So it's not a model for nitpicking, for diving deeply into details. They have more integral representation, offering you enjoy the music. So let's have player on the table. Actually, recently I've got a question why with inexpensive models I'm using some entry-level dubs as an illustration. Actually for the critical listening I'm using my expensive players. It's Ultima and Bluetooth Gold Touch. But for the illustration purpose I think that it's more logical to have the player from the same price segment, because most probably if you have $100 in-ear monitors you won't use it with $3,000 player. So, and also it's just for illustration purposes to show the examples, so I think it's pretty normal idea. Okay, I'm pretty smart, so let's face it. So bass here is pretty fun, it's a bit accented, and at the same time it's really deep and has good body. Usually such well-bodied bass is produced by 10 or even 12 mm dynamic drivers. I didn't expect such good bass performance from the small 6 mm driver, but probably it's some secret in tuning or just a nice driver itself. So bass go pretty deep. Of course it's not super deep, but depth is really nice, with good rumble, with good amount of pressure. It's not bass heavy model, I can't name them as bass heavy, but it still have nice bass, really tasty, really enjoyable with normal resolution. Of course it's not balanced armatures, but it's not slow, it's not sloppy, so it's just a pretty technical dynamic driver bass. As a low frequencies example, I've got one of my most favorite bands. It's Musica Nuda, it's Petra Macconi and Ferruccio Spinetti. It's vocal and bass. Perfect combination with good record quality, and of course it's kind of audiophilic record because it's minimalistic but recorded really well, and bass of course play important role here, and it's a nice instrument that has body, that has strings. You can just close your eyes and listening with this in-ear monitors you just can portray it to yourself. You can imagine that strings, how they are pulled, how they are released, and how they're moving, producing the sound. And this has nice contrast with Petra's vocal, and it gives really listening pleasure, like like chocolate with red pepper, for example. So mids are a bit on the softer side, but actually not too soft, not too smooth. They have normal resolution, but at the same time they are represented in the integral way. So they are not going into details, not going into nitpicking like it it was with D6. So if you heard D6, it's not a model tuned the same way. But at the same time, they are not as soft as D3. So it's something in between. It's, let's say, normal resolution for the dynamic drivers, and they are really good in representing emotions. They shows you character of instruments. They are extremely good for this price, of course, with male vocals, and they are normal with female, because male vocals have a bit of additional weight and it plays nicely, and female vocals are just normal. So imaginary stage, you know, it's a bit above average and a bit actually even a bit above average in width and even more than average in depth, so pretty good, especially they have good layering in depth. You know, it's pretty surprising for such small in-ear monitors in this price range. Of course, it's not super spacious once again, but still pretty enjoyable. And as a mid example, I've got actually Scorpions. I'm not a big fan of this band. I'm not a big fan of their ballad. I don't like that their farewell tour is on and on for like 10 years. They are saying goodbye but not leaving us. But anyway, it's their typical ballad from their album that I like. It's Eye to Eye. And it's typical Scorpions ballad, a moment in a million years, and I just selected as a great illustration of how well these in-ear monitors can be with male vocal. Just perfect balance of weight, perfect balance of emotions. So of course some $500 model could do better, but these in-ear monitors are also nice. And treble here, not my subjective preference, they are tuned to be a bit on the softer side. Trebles here has a bit slower attacks and decays, so they are not sharp, but at the same time treble resolution is nice, extension is average but also okay, so you know, it's not an attempt to hide treble by making them recessed or move them to the background. They are just represented a bit softer than they are, so it's giving really enjoyable signature overall. For those who don't like sharp treble, it would be a nice model, but at the same time treble is present, it balances the low frequencies and offering nice amount of overtones. Yeah, probably we need to name an example here. It's Hans Zimmer, Mountains, Interstellar soundtrack. I think every single track from this album could be an illustration, but Mountains is one of the most spectacular here. And actually just listen to it and you will understand. There are a lot of percussion, a lot of these three-dimensional effects, and actually among all inexpensive models, Alpha and Delta probably not the best, but definitely among the best playing this track, especially if, as I said before, if you don't like harsh treble. It's model for those who like a bit politer treble. In terms of pairings, they just require any dub that can deliver about 100 milliwatts or even a bit less. 70 milliwatts for 32 ohms load will be more than enough, and M6, for example, is a nice pairing with them, and they probably not all smartphones will drive them properly, but almost all dubs will be okay. They don't require something super resolving, they don't require something high-end, but of course they can benefit from a better dub. So here is Alpha and Delta KS3, and probably a few words about comparisons, but as usual I can't recall any single model that will remind them. There are a lot of models in this price range. For example, I recently reviewed CCA C16, but they are a bit more resolving, they are a bit sharper because they are multi-balanced armatures. For example, they have less low frequencies but more treble, so it's colder sound with... It's not cold, but it's colder because it's balanced armatures. My favorite Osprey KC09 has pretty similar tuning, but they are slower on the low frequencies, and it's actually noticeable. I can probably say that this model is kind of a slight upgrade over Osprey. Well, a lot of other models, for example Indio Topaz, also I reviewed them recently, but they are hybrid and you can notice that driver overlaps, while those are single driver and they are more coherent. But of course hybrid models will give you more resolution because of balanced armatures. And many other models. Actually, if you're interested in some comparisons, just free to ask. I will try to do it if I heard other models. And that was Alpha&Delta KS3, really interesting model for those who like dynamic driver, a bit shifted to warmer side with still good level of emotions. They are a bit more forgiving to the record quality as usual, so if you're listening to something that is not always perfectly recorded, can definitely recommend them. Nicely built, great accessory set and packaging, and really good, enjoyable, warmer dynamic driver sound. Thank you for attention.